Does anyone have a question? With this energy of this meditation, it's really about uplifting people, taking people to a whole different level within themselves, so they can begin to, allow some really profound vision of their life germinate, you know. And I think this is important because, we have to have some kind of ambition in the world, not to live in like a monotone, day by day going by, in that whole Shakespearean, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pay. Life is more than that. And it becomes more than that when we develop a system inside that truly enables us to have a vision about what we want to accomplish in the world. The greatest vision, of course, is unconditional love because it requires the biggest transformation inside oneself to no longer, sit in judgment of other people, to really be happy from whatever we learn from people we like, we don't like, and whatever people manifest in our lives. And then there's, the active doing in the world, which, scares the hell out of most people. But it shouldn't, because if you build a system inside, you become a vehicle for spiritual energy. Spiritual energy has to manifest, and it will manifest. And if we allow it because we live our life in a certain state of surrender, of letting go, it will manifest as an incredible vision of what we have to do with our lives and what we have to do in the world. Does anyone have a question? I mean, this isn't easy. It requires deep inner change. It requires letting go of so many of the encumbrances that keep us from tapping spiritual energy. And it requires a very profound liking and loving of oneself. And by that, I don't mean egotistically, I mean our self-worth. We as human beings were born here to have incredible lives. But why should we dam it up, with all our problems, our neurosis, our anxieties, fear, guilt, et cetera, et cetera? It just dams up the works. So if we work on ourselves, we transform that damming effect into something that lets energy really flow. That energy will manifest in our lives. In big ways and little ways, suddenly the world is not this terrible place we live in. It's all a manifestation of God teaching us what we have to do to grow. So everything that we see and everything that we touch and taste and interact with becomes sacred. I mean, being able to do this is a major step towards spiritual enlightenment and freedom from karma. And the incredible thing is that it's possible in every human being. We all have the tools. We're born with them. We don't have to go looking for them or shopping for them. they're, they're with us 24 hours a day. It's up to us to recognize them and to begin to use them in that kind of depth. And as I always say, it will manifest differently for every human being, uniquely in their own way, in their own unique, independent connection with higher energy in the universe. All these classes are about building a system that can do it. And coming to these classes, there's a place to receive that intensity of Shakti, of energy, that can enable us to arrive at a place where we recognize that God is unconditional love. And we can't dam up the works. We have to build a system that allows it to manifest around us. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask? And it doesn't matter where one lives. You can live in, you know, Poland or Portland or Jerusalem or wherever. It doesn't matter. Miami. It really doesn't matter. Wherever we are, we have the instruments to do what I'm talking about. We're born with them. It's fun. It's really fun. And it doesn't depend upon other people to be fun. We just enjoy ourselves. Somebody else is crazy. Why do we have to stop enjoying ourselves? I mean that. Does anyone have a question? And then we don't blame anybody. You understand that? We don't blame anybody because we're upset. We're upset because what we've experienced brings up that part of us that really gets upset. And if we can just transform that part of ourselves, no matter what comes up, we're not going to get upset. We're going to be able to look at it with tongue in cheek and find a way to function in the world that doesn't drain us of our life. Does anyone have a question? Nobody has a question. Okay.
Stuart,
Yes.
can you reflect on the time when you looked at this work as no longer slaying the dragons, but the welcoming the day with gratitude? I mean, was that when you look at your life, was that a process of evolving in that shift?
Yes, it was a serious process of going from what was one of the most unhappy persons in the world, right before I met Rudy, to recognizing that I had found somebody who can teach me how to build an inner life that is strong enough that I don't have to live with that person who is one Stuart. And it took years, Larry. I mean, I wound up in Texas. It was the last place in the world I ever wanted to live. My teacher told me go down there for 3 weeks and try to get some stability in this group that wants an ashram, a meditation center. It took 9 years for me to work it out. But in that 9 years, I worked like an animal. I built an enormous situation there. Beautiful house and great I mean, it became like one of the tourist places in Denton, Texas. But I realized I needed more in order to dredge up those parts of me that were keeping me from being happy. And then New York and this and traveling all over the world. And I mean, I finally began to realize this is all bullshit, Stuart. Stop your bullshit, then it'll all change. And I really mean it. They got down to that finally. And I began to be able to live with myself. I didn't have to judge anybody else. I didn't have to be anybody's victim. And a lot of people tried, I promise you. I could tell you stories and make your hair. Well, you don't have a lot of hair, but make your ears stand on end. I mean it, of what people tried to do. And I always got answers from my teachers. There's only one way forward, and that's forgiveness. If you don't forgive them, you'll never move forward. It was the greatest thing I ever learned. It enabled me to have my life. Yes, it took time. And I used to hear Rudy talk about his life. What he went through is unbelievable in his life. Pain, the difficulty, you know, but believing in one thing, that he was there to serve a higher energy in the universe. And he had to build an inner life that was strong enough to do it. And that's what I learned from him in such a profound way. And I spent a lot of time with him, and I saw the things he had to go through and how he worked on himself to get through it. And it inspired me. I said, anything's possible. Stuart, if you do the work on yourself, you will get through that Stuart that you don't want to live with, you know? And it finally happened. So it's not an easy process. And it's not easy because we're up against only one person, and that's ourselves. I mean that. There's one person keeps us from doing this, is ourselves. Everybody else reminds us what we have to do. If we are insulted, then we're angry and upset at other people, it's only because there's that anger in ourselves that they're dragging it out of us. Be grateful to them.
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome. And it takes time. You have to have a lot of patience and be willing to do the work on yourself. I mean, if you ever read stories or see movies about what artists went through and musicians went through, I mean, what Van Gogh went through in order to paint a painting. My God, it's a miracle to have created such masterpieces when he had to fight against his tormented self. Rembrandt, same thing, and most of them, what's his name, that guy? Michelangelo, not Michael, Michelangelo Caravaggio. Same thing, what he went through, tortured. And yet they had that need in them to beauty, tap beauty inside. And the need in this meditation is the greatest work of art is life. Life itself is the greatest work of art. Does anyone else have a question? Okay, there will be meditation on Thursday. I'll say it once again. You're probably tired of hearing it. Thank you. God bless you all. Your presence in my life is a miracle, and it's really forcing me to learn things that I've been needing to learn. And so God bless you all, and thank you. And there'll be meditation on Thursday. I'm looking forward to seeing you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Stu.
You're welcome.